What a day of basketball yesterday. The Tigers and Paladins stuffing their swollen toes inside Cinderella's slipper.
What?
And guess what? We get to do it
That was
all
bad.
Be quiet.
I'm
You're
here
not
too.
Here yet.
I'm at the desk.
We get to do it all again today and tomorrow. I don't know. The Paladins thing throws me off.
Yeah.
What the hell is
What
it?
Clearly it
Emerson
throws you
is
off.
trying to say is some teams are having a Cinderella moment in the March Madness tournament.
Boom.
That's what he was trying to get to. Welcome to The Sweat, presented by DraftKings. Jesse Cofield, Emerson Lazia, Julian Edlow, who has welcomed himself in
Hi.
over here. We got a great show for you today. Mike Golick going to join us and talk about all the moves happening in NFL free agency, everything, what grades he's going to give these teams and what teams he thinks need to be doing a little bit more.
Yeah, we'll talk Lamar and Aaron Rodgers because everyone else is as well. NBA, NHL, NASCAR, F1 picks too. But Jules, yes, is here. Let's dish out some March Madness bets for today. Before we do that, it was a terrible first day of the tournament. No surprises or upsets whatsoever. What was your favorite part or maybe storyline?
I thought Furman was the most fun part of the day. They were kind of a popular, trendy upset. A lot of people took the points with them, and they wind up going down big in that game. But as usual with Virginia, tournament struggles come into play. It was a little more on the defensive side of the ball than on offense this side around, which was, a little bit different of a storyline. But, yeah, just the ability for Furman to come back in that game and then Virginia just choking and giving Furman that shot, and of course it goes down.
Did he think that there was like a second left? What was that? He just chucked it. The kid who intercepted it, he couldn't believe it. He was like, he just threw it.
He was
walking
the video
off,
behind the scenes.
He just threw it.
I don't know if Kihei Clark thought there was 2-3 seconds on the clock. Maybe you can make that play. Or he just thought somebody was down court. He's like a 5'9" point guard, not the biggest guy. Maybe he couldn't see. But we're talking about, Kihei Clark might have the best and worst pass in NCAA tournament history. In 2019, as a freshman, he made a pass from the backcourt with 4 seconds left to get it to the front court, beat Purdue at the buzzer, and they wound up winning it all that year because of that. This year, as a fifth-year senior, makes one of the worst passes in NCAA tournament history. So some highs and lows for Kihei Clark.
Penn State's Andrew Funkalicious was channeling his inner Jimmer Fredette last night. That was kind of fun to watch.
Yeah, I didn't find that all that funky. I was on Texas A&M.
Oh, okay,
That one,
okay,
that one
do you know what a paladin is, by the way?
You don't.
Yes, I do, because I
You just
researched this
Googled
for
it.
the show. It's like a knight, like in the 1500s, like a
Now
warrior.
your opening seems way more smooth.
Yeah.
It takes
all right.
me a while to warm up.
Let's get to today, Jules. Biggest upset today, you bet on VCU. Any other 13, 14, 15 seeds going to be moving on here? What do you think?
I hope not, because I'm on teams like UConn to go to the Sweet 16.
Okay.
Going through the board, VCU is probably Kent State's a short favorite against Indiana. I don't have a play or much of a take on that game. I think Kent State's getting to such a short number, I would lean Indiana. K-State's been pretty solid all year. I think Gonzaga got a great draw with Grand Canyon. They should win that game. So I would say Drake, who got bet down pretty good against Miami, has a chance, although just as we're going on, Jeff Goodman, who comes on unreasonable odds with us all the time, Miami's big man is going to play, who rolled his ankle in the ACC tournament. So that's some of the reason that game came down. That number is probably going to grow to Miami a little bit bigger, a favorite again. But yeah, I would say Drake and VCU specifically are the two teams with the best chance, and VCU is one of my favorite plays today with those 4 points.
We have Pitt and Arizona State already with a win. They're each taking on 6 seeds from the Big 12 here. So which of the first 4 teams is likely to advance? What do you like?
I don't see it with either of these teams. I do like the favorites in these. Arizona State was obviously scorching hot in that Nevada game. Generally, that doesn't carry over. They might be due to miss some shots, and the ACC hasn't looked great outside of Duke in this tournament. Iowa State's not a team that I love, but they play good defense. They have some veterans on that team outside of the point guard. When in doubt, I'm probably going to lean Big 12 because they were so fantastic all year, so I do lean with the favorites in those ones.
Okay.
All right, all 4 3 seeds are in action. What's your favorite bet from a 3-14 matchup?
Yeah, so I have a couple of bets in that Baylor game. Early tip there against against UCSB. The Gauchos getting
I
some
love that,
points.
dude.
I bet them getting 11 when they came out. You see the 10.5 there. They should keep this close. Like many of these teams that we don't know much about maybe when they get in, you do your research, you start watching the game, you go, oh, these guys are actually pretty good. Well, yeah, that's why they won their conference tournament and they're in March Madness. So Baylor's been kind of stumbling a little bit lately. I think they do ultimately win the game, but this should be 10 or less in my mind. And then I bet the under 143, which opened 145, and it's kind of come tumbling down even more. We talked about that on Unreasonable Odds this week. It's an early tip, like a noontime tip in Denver with the altitude.
1:30, I think.
Yep, well, 1:30 Eastern, so
Yeah.
even earlier local time
damn.
because, time change in the
That
States
is the
and
thing
America,
here in the
Emerson.
States.
So,
Three
yeah,
time
Mountain
zones.
Time is what it's called in Denver. Early tip out there. I
Very
like the
close.
under in that one. Other three is Gonzaga. Team total over on Gonzaga. They have the number 1 rated offense in terms of offensive efficiency in the nation. I think it's 85.5 or 86.5 on the Zags. Grand Canyon, 232nd on defense. They like to run like the Zags, play offense, not much defense. So they're just a worse version of Gonzaga. So I like the Zags to score a lot of points in that game.
Billy behind the camera, aren't you on Grand Canyon?
That's
Yeah,
a classic
he
Billy
is.
move. Billy likes the biggest dog on the board and just throws 20
Hell
bucks in.
yeah, brother.
Yep.
Happy St. Patrick's Day to you, Billy. What's your favorite bet on today's slated games? Just the entire board. Give us your best bet.
It's got to be VCU, but we've talked plenty about them, so I'll try and get away from them.
Okay, yeah,
It's
you got
VCU. Memphis. I like Memphis a lot.
Wait, against FAU? Salute the hoop, man. The Fighting Owls.
FAU's good, but I like the way Memphis is playing right now. They've played Houston really tough twice recently. They have a veteran backcourt with Kendrick Davis that I like a lot. They have good size up front. I don't think FAU has played a team like Memphis in a while, and that should be an issue for them.
UCF beat Memphis once this past year.
Cool.
Just a thought.
Wow, that's
about
great.
That.
Let's move to Saturday's games. Do you have an upset coming in the second round here? Is Furman going to keep it going against San Diego State?
I did bet Furman +6. That'll be out in my best bets article. It's coming out right after this show. But
Number 7 seed to beat a 2 seed? Come on.
Houston is going down on Saturday night.
Oh!
Auburn is
That
going to
was
beat
tight at the
Houston.
half last night. They were only up 3 points. What's it, Northern Kentucky?
Against Northern Kentucky, yeah. It doesn't have much to do with that. This line, you see it right there at 5.5. This came out 8 last night, around midnight. I put out Auburn +8. It's down to 5.5. I'm good with it at 5.5. I think they're going to win this game. Auburn was one of my favorite plays on Thursday. Home floor. They played in Birmingham, Alabama. That was a pro-Auburn crowd in the win over Iowa. Houston comes in, looks sluggish against Northern Kentucky. They're a team that generally doesn't win by margin anyway because of their pace of play and their defense. But Sasser came in with the groin injury, didn't play against Memphis in the AAC championship game, re-injures it during that game and doesn't return. After the game, Calvin Sampson's doing the post game, says, yeah, he's concerned about Sasser's groin, but he's also concerned about Shedd's knee, which went down in that game. So now you're looking at 2 of Houston's best players in their backcourt potentially dinged up in and out of this game, playing a road game at a hot Auburn team. This is all the makings for a big upset on Saturday night. I love Auburn with the points. I'll take some money line as well.
Right, just saying that Northwestern UCLA game against 7 seeds, 2 seeds are 15-9 since 2000.
15-9 isn't even that good, I guess, for a 2 against a 7. I would expect them to be a little bit better than that.
Okay.
I think.
This is.
Never mind.
I think UCLA. I mean,
All right,
sweetie.
all right, I'll see you out of here.
well, 15-9. What is that?
head
That's
out.
winning like 60% of them.
Yeah, as an upset.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. You said 7s.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really good.
I know!
Oh.
All right, trend doesn't continue there. UCLA is going to win that game. You can parlay them with something like Creighton. I flipped that.
All right, whatever. Continue. Next one.
Thank you. I didn't know that.
You're welcome.
Dude, she's bringing it today.
Yeah.
Oh,
is
it's
she?
already been brought.
Just continue.
Favorite Saturday bet overall, though, because we just talked upsets. What is a bet that is going to make the people money here on DraftKings Sportsbook, especially our friends in Massachusetts, because DraftKings Sportsbook is now live in Massachusetts.
Okay. Best Saturday bet is Auburn for me, for sure. It has to be Auburn in that home spot against a dinged-up Houston team. But to give you one more that I do like, this is going to be a public play. Duke against Tennessee. Duke looked great. Tennessee let go of the rope, almost lost that game on Thursday night. People like betting Duke in general. I bet against Duke. I took Oral Roberts yesterday. I was dead wrong. But Duke is playing top 10 basketball on both sides of the floor. The defense is locked in. The offense is scoring. Tennessee can go into lulls where they don't score. I just don't see how they keep up with Duke. And Rick Barnes has just not been a good tournament coach. I know it's John Shire's first year at Duke, but advantage Duke right now the way that they're playing. I think that's a little too short.
Yeah. Good stuff. And I did read that stat wrong. You were right. Continuing.
That's
all
what
right.
you said 2 C's with
I know.
Makes
All right.
perfect sense.
Thanks for wearing your
Good
green.
Stuff. Julian, thank you so much. Yeah,
St.
thanks
Patrick's
for
Day
wearing green.
just ruins March Madness.
Guys, Mike Golick is standing by to break down the week in the NFL. But on this week's episode of Golick and Smetty, Mike and Jess like the Bears move with the Panthers. But who is the Panthers pick at 1?
The Bears, by the way, have been doing pretty well. They got DJ Moore, wide receiver. They picked up a couple of linebackers, including Tremaine Edmonds from
they
Buffalo.
got a haul for that first pick.
Yeah, they did. So I think the Bears did exactly the right thing. I still don't buy those that were saying trade Justin Fields. I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
They keep Justin Fields, build around him, and see where it goes. And I think Carolina, you asked me right now, Jess, forgetting the combine, somebody wrote something and I read it, and Bryce Young had been the presumptive number 1 pick, right? And I heard somebody say, did C.J. Stroud pass Bryce Young with his combine performance? And all I have to say is, if a team decide on a combine performance that he passed a guy you had a higher grade on when they actually played football, you're an idiot. That's all I got to say, okay? I'm sorry. I got nothing for you.
We should make this a recurring segment, the You're an Idiot designation.
We should, because I'm not in the meeting room with it, which I think is the best thing with the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Get on the blackboard, go over tape and all that. Now, for me, Jess, we talked about the top 4 quarterbacks in this draft: Young, Stroud, Richardson, and
Will Levis.
And Levis, yeah. Again, let me preface this. By watching them all season long, not at the combine, if I'm Carolina, I take C.J. Stroud. He's the guy to me. Now, again, there's 4 that are going to go in the first round, and you mentioned before, it's a 50-50 shot of a bust. So by history, 2 are going to be good and 2 are going to be busts. So you talk about crossing your fingers if you're a team and a fan base and taking one of these guys.
That's why a lot of teams are like, you know what? Let's just sign the guy that's a sure thing. Aaron Rodgers will give you whatever you want.
Yeah, that's why Garoppolo is down.
Derek Carr
is
at
well.
the Saints. Yeah.
All right, you know the drill by now, and if you don't, allow me, download the Golick and Smetty podcast wherever you get your favorite podcasts like Golick and Smetty. And we've got the man, we've got the myth, we've got the legend joining us live right meow. Morning, Mike. Happy St. Patrick's Day. This has got to be a big day for you and the family.
Yeah, I got some green beer to be drinking, so let's get it going here.
Yeah.
Huh? I gotta get after it.
I know. We'll get you in and out, okay?
Mike, hey, we just heard you on your podcast, Golick and Smetty, say how much you like what the Bears have done so far, like in this new league year, especially that trade. Where do you rank them among your list of free agency winners right now?
Well, I mean, gotta be right there. I gotta throw a trade in there too with DJ Moore with the first pick that they traded away, which I'm still amazed. People were saying get rid of Justin Fields and draft Bryce Young and start the clock over again. It blew my mind. I'm like, are you kidding me? This guy, really started to play well. He needs some weapons around him, and they did that. You get DJ Moore in the trade. You get Tanyan, a tight end, to pair with Cole Kmet. You get Deontay Foreman, who had a career year, finally played a full season without getting hurt because you lost David Montgomery. So you're helping your offense. That's what you need to do. You see what happened down in Florida when you gave Tua some weapons. Now you give Justin Fields some weapons as well. They got a little help on the defense, too. I like Edwards, both linebackers that they picked up, Edmonds and Edwards from Buffalo and Philadelphia. I like them a lot. They pick up a D-end rusher because their leading sacker last year was a rookie safety. That's almost embarrassing when you don't have an edge rusher or somebody like that as your sack leader. Not one D lineman, I think, had over 3 sacks. So I think they've really hit some of their needs right now.
So what team are you maybe a little disappointed in right now? Colts released Matt Ryan. They got some cap space, not a ton of huge moves. Fans in Boston Looking for Bill Belichick to do a little more here than Juju. I mean, they signed James Robinson.
Mike Gesicki, too, today.
Mike Gesicki, but they did Robinson for $4 million a year, which is like top 16 running back money. And he had a pretty flat 2022. Like, Ramondre Stevenson's back there, kind of wild. Like, who do you think needs to step it up, Mike?
Well, you sit there and you look at the Colts, who just now picked up Gardner Minshew. So they're going to have their 7th different starting quarterback in the last 7 years. I mean, they haven't been able to grab a quarterback. It's horrible. It's almost like what's going on, what was going on in Denver after Peyton left. They couldn't get a good starting quarterback. So we'll see there. But tell me the last time, gang, because if the Jets, and I know we'll talk about Aaron Rodgers, but if that whole thing goes through and they get some of the players that they want to sign and they get Aaron Rodgers, the New England Patriots on paper will go into the season as the worst team in their division. When is the last time we have said that? Mm-hmm. So I think everybody's waiting for Bill Belichick to do a little more. Like you said, Gesicki, tight end, you kind of swapped Jacoby Myers for Juju Smith-Schuster. So we'll see what happens there. So I'm not. I think more New England because we're so used to giving Bill Belichick the benefit of the doubt. But now I think you're starting to go, wait a minute, what kind of team are they going to have coming into this year?
Yeah, I think you'd probably have to go back to like the 80s or 90s. Last time like New England was the worst team inside its division. Yeah. Baltimore could easily be the worst team in that division if they lose Lamar Jackson here, Mike. And talks couldn't start with him until 4 o'clock Eastern time when the new league year started on Wednesday. Which teams out there besides Baltimore would you like to see show some interest in this guy? Former league MVP, man.
I mean, you got to think about Atlanta, right? I mean, I know they have Ritter from Cincinnati who took over last year for Marcus Mariota, and they're going to try and see where he can go. But, you saw now Washington picks up a quarterback. Carolina was going to draft a quarterback anyway. So you wonder, are the spaces starting to, as a musical chair, starting to all get, have people sitting in them? But I still think Atlanta could be that team. I don't know where Ritter's going to be the future of that team. You have a chance to pick up, a league MVP and an incredibly exciting player who, by the way, he can pass the ball pretty well. Okay, let's get away from that. We know he can run the ball. He can pass the ball pretty well. Baltimore just decided not to really help him out with any great wide receivers outside of a tight end. So I think that's a team. You give you 2 first-rounders. It's guys. It's all coming down to the contract, right? All the owners are sick of Haslam because it gave Deshaun Watson that guaranteed deal, and everybody's screaming collusion. Well, I mean, I don't think the owners actually need to physically collude when they all know we don't want to start giving out guaranteed contracts. We don't want to go by the way of baseball and basketball in a sport where injury is so prevalent and guys are going to be collecting money while they're missing a ton of games. So they don't want to do this, but eventually someone's going to step up and do it, or Lamar's going to find out it's not happening, and then is he going to settle for something less? And by the way, I do think there's a good chance if somebody does offer him a deal, Baltimore matches it, and he ends up back in Baltimore.
Yeah, and I know, like with Atlanta, I know they also, Mike, I agree with you. I think it'd be a great landing spot for him. I know they just signed Taylor Heineke as well to play quarterback with him, a little competition there for Desmond Ritter. But I don't think that should stop them at all in potentially grabbing, again, a former MVP who's at the peak of his career right now, and especially when healthy, is almost impossible to stop.
I completely agree. This is all about the guaranteed contract. I was on a show in Cleveland earlier this week, and they were like, why do the other owners care about the Browns and the fact that they did it? The Browns haven't won a championship, since, the early 60s, and why are they worried about the Browns? I said, it's not the Browns. I said, it's the precedent that the Browns set. It could have been any team out there if they had given Deshaun Watson that deal. That's what's stopping the other owners. They don't want to do it. They want to call it an outlier. And Deshaun Watson, or I should say Lamar Jackson, rightfully so, is saying, I don't care. You call it whatever you want. I call it a player got a fully guaranteed contract. I'm better than that player. I should get a fully guaranteed contract with a little more money. And then you got Joe Burrow coming behind that. You got Jalen Hurts. You got Justin Herbert. So how far will these quarterbacks be willing to go to get that fully guaranteed deal? Because an option is going to be you sit and don't play if a team doesn't give it, and that's what you want, and you won't play unless you get it.
All right, let's stick with QB news. Jimmy Garoppolo, he's a Raider. He's got playoff and Super Bowl experience. So, Mike, how much of an upgrade is he over Derek Carr? There's kind of been a lot of back and forth about how talented Jimmy G really is. So this is going to be a true test to see him outside Kyle Shanahan's system.
See, I'm a fan of Jimmy G. Now, when he started playing, I mean, there's only been a few years where he's played, in the double digit of games. But one thing he doesn't do a lot of is he doesn't throw a lot of interceptions. Though when he did play in those double digit games, 10 is usually that number for quarterbacks. They want to stay under 10, and he's been over that a couple of times. 13 interceptions, 12 interceptions. Other years, could be single digits. I've been a fan of Jimmy G. I think he gets a bad rap at times. I like him. He has a great winning percentage. Think about this. He goes from, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, to Devontae Adams now he gets, Jacoby Myers, Josh Jacobs, who's coming off a career year. So he's got other nice weapons to throw to, though they did trade away Darren Waller to the Giants. I like the weapons he had. The Raiders are in need of defense. I mean, I think their offense is going to be fine. Their defense was horrible. So they really need to concentrate on that side of the ball.
You just mentioned Darren Waller there, Mike. A few other big names moving through trades so far in this league year. Gilmore, Ramsey, Jonnu Smith. Which one really caught your eye? Which one is your favorite?
Well, I mean, I think again, DJ Moore going to Chicago, I think was a monster. That's the biggest thing that you need is you need some help for Justin Fields. You have to do it. And that's why I was saying it was crazy to me that you weren't going to or you were thinking about getting rid of him and choosing another quarterback. I really think that was the move right now. Again, it's weird the switch with Juju and Jacoby from Juju going from obviously Kansas City now to New England, and New England letting Jacoby go to Oakland or Las Vegas. Oakland, geez, I should be fined for that. But I know those are more free agent deals. But I like the fact that Washington or Chicago traded away that number one pick, and they picked up a big time wide receiver, something Justin Fields really needs.
All right, let's talk about a pending trade. Aaron Rodgers intends to play for the Jets. So, Mike, should only 5 other teams have better Super Bowl odds than New York, given this?
Well, listen, I mean, the AFC is so much deeper than the NFC, ridiculously deeper. What this does, I mean, I've heard people say, well, if they pull off this deal and get the players that they're talking about, they're one of the favorites. I'm not going that far. It's still the top 3 of Kansas City, Cincinnati, and Buffalo. And then I think, below that, you have the likes of the Chargers, the Dolphins, if Tua can stay healthy, because I forgot to mention, in stupid me, Jalen Ramsey going to Miami, I mean, was just an incredible move there. So you have Howard, you have Ramsey at corners, and you have Waddle and Tyreek Hill wide receivers. I mean, I love what they did because their pass defense was bad last year. But Miami's right in that mix as well. And now the Jets will be in that mix. So the Jets will be in the mix because they have an Aaron Rodgers. See, the beautiful, and when you're looking for a combination in the NFL, you're looking for that excellent defense, which is going to keep you in every game, and then an offense that can put some points on the board, but doesn't turn the ball over. I just talked about Garoppolo not turning the ball over. Aaron Rodgers in 18 years, only 3 times has been in double digits. Last year was one of them with 12, but for the most part, he's under 10 interceptions and usually around 6 or 7. So he doesn't turn the ball over. They have a really good defense. So that's going to keep you in games. I think they need to advance their running game a little bit because that's something he had in Green Bay with the 2-headed monster that they had. I love Breece Hall. I covered him in college, unfortunately with the injury because he was on his way to Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year. So hopefully he comes back from that. They have a pretty solid team. They definitely need some help on the O-line, though, because, Aaron can get knocked around a little bit.
Mike, before you go and suck down some green beer and corned beef, or is that what it is today, right? It's corned beef and then cabbage and all that stuff. Not hash. I don't think hash is part of it.
beer guy. I'm not a big corn beer. I'll just slug some pizza down with my beer.
Yeah,
Okay,
there you
fair
go.
enough.
I know you're going to be watching the tournament today. You got any upset picks for us here? Anyone playing the role of Princeton and Furman today?
So I'll say in my sheet, I'll go but to yesterday. I picked Furman. I picked him.
Yeah.
I called that one. I mean, what an incredible ending that was to that game.
Yeah.
So I don't have one like that. I mean, picking a 12 over a 5 almost isn't an upset anymore because we see the 12s beat the 5s. I think I have USC winning today. I think that's a 10-7 matchup. I don't even know how much I look as that as a big-time upset. But the real upset that I picked was yesterday. It was Furman. And, man, that encapsulates March Madness.
Yeah.
I mean, the ending of that game and then you see obviously what Princeton does, in knocking off a number 2 seed. I picked Texas to win the whole thing.
Yeah, me
too.
too.
I think the two number one seeds that don't get to the Final Four will be Houston. They just had an injury to one of their better players, and I think Purdue will be the 2 number 1s that are going to be out of this. I think Kansas and Alabama will get to the Final Four. And I have Texas beating Kansas to get to the finals to play Alabama, and then Texas winning it all.
All right, well, yeah, we saw Alabama take care of business in the first round, but where does the road end for them? ? Corby Craig joined Julian on the Unreasonable Odds podcast to give his take. Thanks, Mike. We'll talk to you later.
What sparked me remembering we needed to talk about these is because you brought up Alabama, and I was like, how did we not cover Alabama? I wanted to go against Alabama in this tournament. Huge cloud hanging over the program with the Brandon Miller situation. I was like, all the attention, you got to fade him somewhere. And then the bracket comes out. And as you mentioned earlier on the podcast, cake walk.
Absolutely.
So Bama against a 16 seed that wins a play-in game. Then you're going to get a West Virginia, Maryland winner. Then you're going to get a San Diego State, Charleston, Virginia, Furman winner. Then who knows? Baylor, Creighton, Zona in a Elite Eight game. Maybe they can prevent Bama from going to the Final Four. I've got them in the Final Four. But that first path that I said to the Elite Eight for Bama to win 3 games. Last future play, Alabama -105 to go to the Elite Eight. I love that play.
Yeah, it's a cakewalk. I think the only issue becomes Virginia plays such a different type of basketball. If we see Virginia, maybe some struggles. If we see San Diego State, they have the talent pool to stay in front. So I still think Alabama gets done handedly in those situations, but that's the only issue. If we see West Virginia, I don't think that West Virginia has near enough competence to do much of anything.
All right, everybody. DraftKings contributors Gary and Thorne and Jeff Pratt are here. They are our NBA panel.
Wow.
Because we have an NBA slate tonight. We need DFS and betting plays for it. So, Gary, why don't you start us off with your best DFS play on the slate tonight? Who is it?
I mean, I'm going to go super basic here. I apologize, but it's Joel Embiid. I mean, Look, it's one thing to talk about a guy who's just feeling it right now. He scored at least 30 points. He scored at least 55 DraftKings points in each of his last 5 games. It's one thing to talk about someone who's got an amazing matchup. We've said time and time again, centers eat the Hornets alive. They've given up the most DraftKings points per game to opposing big men of any team so far this season. They're also without Mark Williams tonight, making what was already a pretty underwhelming front line even more underwhelming. But the other thing you have to consider for the next 3 weeks when it comes to Joel Embiid and his DFS value, this dude is trying to win MVP. Like maybe more than anyone's ever tried to win MVP. He's going out there to put up ridiculous stat lines. Sure, he wants to win the game, but I honestly think it's secondary to just trying desperately to win the MVP at this point. I just think you can't ignore Embiid on the slate.
Jeff, I saw you nodding earnestly.
Of course he is.
What does that mean?
It just means you're a nodder. You're a big nodder.
No, it just means he might agree, okay?
I do agree. I mean, there's not much more for me to say about this. Gary pretty much touched on everything. I think if you look at the high-priced options on tonight's slate, almost every other high-priced option besides Joel Embiid has some sort of injury tag. Now, some of these guys are questionable. All of that said, it doesn't matter. It has to be Joel Embiid with how well he's playing. 60-plus fantasy points in 3 of his last 4 games. He's gone under 56 just once so far in the month of March. And his usage as of late has just been absurd. It's hit 42% twice in his last 4 matchups. Just for reference, Giannis leads the league with a 37.8% usage rate. And that in itself is ridiculous. But Joel Embiid is going into the 40s. So everything runs through him in Philly right now. And it's got to be him as the best DFS play on tonight's slate. I do like Steph Curry as well with how well he's been playing lately, even though the Warriors are on the road. But we're not joking here. It's got to be Embiid.
Well, thank you for not joking. And I'd ask you to do the same thing again when the value play comes up. Like your favorite value play tonight here, Mr. Pratt. Go ahead.
Yeah, I can't say I expected to be talking about rebounding machine Patrick Beverley today, but here we are. And that's exactly what he's been as of late, an absolute monster on the boards. He's racked up double-digit rebounds in back-to-back games, and it's proved that he doesn't need to score to be a productive DFS player. He scored just 3 points in Wednesday's game against the Kings, but finished with 27 DraftKings fantasy points. Tonight, Chicago's getting the Timberwolves. They rank 26th in fantasy points allowed to opposing guards. As long as Pat Bev stays out of foul trouble and plays for 28 to 35 minutes, I think we're looking at a pretty strong potential return on investment at just 4,600.
Hey, Gare Bear, how cheap is your value play tonight?
He is $4,400.
Yes.
Jeff mentioned Steph Curry and him liking him on tonight's slate. We have to kind of talk about the elephant in the room when it comes to tonight's 8-game slate, which is the game total in Golden State Atlanta is 247.5 points.
Woo!
That's lunacy. Like, I'm not saying it's wrong, but that is a huge number. That is a number you can't not ignore when you open up the DraftKings Sportsbook this morning. So guys are going to be scoring points and doing things in that game. And I think Jonathan Kuminga is in a fantastic spot considering that Draymond Green just picked up his 16th technical foul of the season and has been suspended for this game. Andrew Wiggins is still not with the Warriors, dealing with that personal matter. So suddenly the Warriors have no depth in their front line. Kuminga picked up the start the last time Draymond Green missed a game back on February 26th. I would assume he starts again, and he put up 31.25 DraftKings points the last time he started a game back against the Thunder a couple weeks ago. So I think Kuminga is in a fantastic spot tonight in a game where you can basically pull a name out of a hat, and they're probably viable.
All right, let's head over to the DK Sportsbook. Garion, what's your favorite player prop tonight? Perhaps something with Joel Embiid?
So Embiid's point total is 34.5, which again, I think speaks to the fact that he is clearly the number one play on this slate. I'm going to go right back to that Atlanta Golden State game, though. Trae Young's assist prop is set at 10.5. It's at plus money to the over, plus 115. Again, if there's going to be anything close to 248 points in this game, Trae Young is probably going to be dishing out a lot of assists. He's had double-digit assists in 34 of his 62 starts so far this season, so well over 50%. He had 14 assists the last time these two teams met up in early January. I just think you're going to want to take a lot of overs in this game in general, and if you're going to give me a Trae Young assist prop at plus money, I will more than gladly take it in this type of environment.
All right, Jeff, which player prop has sparked your interest?
So you guys mentioned Joel Embiid. I've been consistently rolling with the over on Joel Embiid's points prop. He's been hitting it. The guy has scored 34 plus points in 5 of his last 6 games. He's just on a ridiculous hot streak right now. That being said, we've already talked enough about Joel Embiid. So I'm going to pivot to one of his teammates and take James Harden over 10.5 assists. They're going up against this Charlotte Hornets defense. I know Garion already talked about how weak they are specifically against centers, but they truly might be the worst defense in the league, period. They are just atrocious to watch on a nightly basis. They do not try on that side of the court. It's really ugly. Harden could rack up 15 assists with his eyes closed or with an eye patch on tonight, and just his depth perception is still all messed up. But it doesn't matter because it feels like even now we don't give James Harden enough credit for his playmaking just because of how divisive his offensive game has been over the years. But the guy's leading the league in assists per game with 10.8. And this feels like the perfect opportunity for him to take it easy on offense, not really try to score, have a lackadaisical game, rack up 12 to 14 assists, and just pick apart this Hornets defense with his passing.
And Gary, and you've already mentioned the ridiculous 248-point total between the Warriors and the Hawks. So which total are you targeting tonight? I know the Hawks have cashed in at least the over in 4 of the last 5 games, but they're going to have to score at will against this team, a team that's going to be without Wiggins and also Green, right? So we're talking a top scorer and a facilitator here.
Yeah. I mean, look, if you want to take the over in that game just for fun, it seems like something really fun to kind of like track throughout the night. Go ahead. I'm just a little scared. I'm a coward here. That's a huge number. It's a number I really haven't seen so far this season. So I'll be avoiding that particular game from a betting standpoint. I'm actually going to go to the exact opposite end of the spectrum here and take the under in Cleveland, Washington, which is the lowest total on this slate at 220. Even though it's the lowest, I still think it's a little too high, and it's actually up to 221 after starting at 220 earlier today. You just have 2 of the slowest paced teams in the NBA going at each other in this contest. In fact, since the beginning of March, the Wizards and Cavaliers ranked 28th and 29th in pace, respectively. Cleveland is a fantastic defensive team, even without Jarrett Allen. The last week or so, they still rank 3rd in the NBA in defensive rating in the month of March. I just think this is going to be a glacially paced game. Washington should have trouble scoring against Cleveland's defense. I think they go under here.
All right, Mr. Pratt, your favorite total tonight, dude.
I'm no coward with this Warriors Hawks game, but I am a pessimist. So I'm taking the under here. I have to. I understand that both of these teams are ridiculously hot right now, but 248, we've said it a bunch of times so far in this segment, that is insanely high. I don't think people understand how difficult it is to combine for 248 points in a game without going to overtime. I mean, if either one of these teams hits a scoring drought for 4 to 5 minutes, that could be enough to kill any chances of hitting the over. And you guys mentioned it. There's no Andrew Wiggins. There's no Draymond Green. And as of right now, Steph Curry is questionable for this game. I think we all expect him to play, but there might be an opportunity to jump on this line right now. And then if he gets ruled out, I'd be shocked if they come close to even 248. And then another reason I like the under is pretty obvious. We're talking about the Warriors on the road here. This is one of the worst road teams we have ever seen. They have a 7-27 record in those situations for a reason. Now, if this game was in San Francisco, I would be a little more hesitant about this pick, especially with how Steph Curry is playing at home. And we know the Hawks can score no matter the arena, but considering it's in Atlanta and the Warriors are missing guys, this total just seems way too high. So I'm going to be pessimistic. I know it's not fun, but I'm rolling with the under.
Boo.
All right, Jeff, which team do you like to cover, or which money line do you like?
It's really simple. The Hawks have lost back-to-back games at home. We're sticking with this matchup, but I still have to take them on the money line against Golden State tonight. And it has everything to do with the Warriors being one of the worst road teams we've ever seen. 7-27. Honestly, watching them in those road games, it feels like 7 wins is generous for them. I'm not sure how they've managed to win 7 times. It's just a completely different team compared to when they're at home. And then going back to the Hawks, I think we're actually getting a bit of a discount here just because they've lost back-to-back games at home. Golden State, it's also worth noting, they have lost 3 straight games in Atlanta, dating all the way back to 2019. I know that rosters roll over year to year, but not only are the Warriors horrible on the road, they've historically struggled on the road in Atlanta, even during those prime dynasty years. It's something to note.
All right, Gary, and what's the play here?
So I'm going to take Boston. It's just a matter of when you want to do it. Because obviously Jason Tatum is questionable for this game. I don't know anything, but I do feel like with this being the first leg of a back-to-back, they might be a little bit more conservative with Tatum. I know there was some talk even around the All-Star break about getting him more rest. So this would seem like a pretty ideal opportunity to do that. However, I still like Boston if Tatum's not playing. I just think this number might move to like 2.5, and you might want to jump on it then. Really, this is more about the Trailblazers than it is the Celtics. There are teams actively trying to lose games in the NBA right now. And still, in the month of March, the Trailblazers have the worst net rating by a pretty significant margin. They've been absolutely terrible. They cannot score the basketball, the 3rd worst offensive rating in the NBA since March 1st. They're also 3-11-1 ATS, their last 15 home games against teams above 500. So when they're at home and have that advantage, it does not matter when they are playing good teams. I know the Celtics have not been themselves lately. Again, Tatum is a question mark for this game, but I would wait on this. And if Tatum's ruled out, just bet Boston at whatever number it ends up spitting out.
All right, dudes, appreciate the help. We got to dive back into March Madness here because it is a wide open tournament, as we saw yesterday with teams like Furman and Princeton and Penn State. Which team could have the sports books reeling? Question mark. Here's more from the Unreasonable Odds podcast with Johnny Avello.
Who are some of the bigger liabilities for the book when it comes to the futures market to make the Final Four, win it all, things of that nature?
Well, do you remember back a couple months ago, we took a big bet on Houston from, Mr. Mattress Mac.
That's okay. Because I've been looking at the splits that we put out, the DK Sportsbook splits, and they're very skewed to Houston, which they're a very good team. I'm sure a lot of sharp bettors like them, but they were so lopsided. That makes sense. Mattress Mac jumped in. There we go.
Yeah, $1 million on Houston.
That'll do it.
Yeah, at 9-1. Good price now. Houston has played well the entire season. That bet was made 2.5 months ago. But we've got off that a little bit since then. UCLA's taken some money over the last, I'd say, 3-4 weeks. Duke, certainly. I mean, when Duke went on this run, the bettors are on Duke. And then UConn is really not a hazard for us. I just mentioned them because they've taken a lot of money. We're probably at a break even on them now, but UConn has been a popular choice as of late.
Well. Of the turntables, Jeff Ulrich and RotoWire's Paul Bruno. Great to have you two here to talk some sticky puck. There's only 4 games on the slate, so let's get your best DFS or bet for each contest tonight. So we'll start with Philly and the Sabres. They're facing off. Jeff Ulrich, DFS or sportsbook play?
Let's go the sportsbook. I like targeting the Sabres first line for DFS, and you should do that. But look, the over in the last 67 meetings between these teams is 45-21-1. You look at the Sabres as well, what they've done. They're just trending extremely well towards the over as well. So, you've got a Philly team. You got Carter Hart and net in 4 of his last 5 games. He's had save percentages well under .900. Sabres team that's struggled at times itself, but still up there, scoring goals all season. I really like the over in this one, even at 6.5, even with a little bit of juice attached. I would lean over.
All right, Jeff, go sportsbook. Paul, where are you going?
I'll give you both real quick. I'll vote Alex Tuck returning and making an impact against the Leafs with a nice performance. I think he builds on that because the Philadelphia Flyers stink right now. And then Owen Power on defense is another guy you can target. That's a cheap defensive option who has some offensive upside, only costing $4,100. As for the game, I'm on the puck line with the Sabres getting plus 180. Easy win.
All right, let's move to Carolina and Toronto. Paul, DFS or sportsbook in this one? Where are you going?
I look at Mitch Marner driving things for the Leafs, and he'll be the difference maker tonight. I still surprised that he only cost $7,300. He hasn't made it over the 8,000 mark, considering he's a very consistent scorer, maybe the best right wing in all of hockey. And then goal, Samsonov comes into this game with the best record on home ice for any goaltender. Yes, that includes the Boston Bruin duo. $7,500 that price. And I expect a low-scoring game. Go under the 5.5. We're going to get a better payout than the minus 110 at 6 total goals.
Jeff Kane's opening a back-to-back on the road against the Maple Leafs. Where are you going in this one?
Yeah, again, I'll stay with the sportsbook. I'll stay with the total, too. I like the under here as well, under 6 goals. You could certainly do what Paul suggested and go to the alternate total and go under 5.5 goals. But these are 2 teams where endured a little bit of bad luck. There's no Ryan O'Reilly for the Leafs. There's no Svechnikov for the Carolina Hurricanes. They're missing key offensive pieces, and they're still solid defensive teams, especially in net for the Hurricanes. The under has been trending for the Maple Leafs, 5-2-2 over their last 9 games. The under for the Hurricanes has been solid all season, but it's 8-3-1 over their last 12 games. So I expect a pretty close defensive battle here between 2, hardened Eastern Conference teams. And again, teams that are missing key offensive pieces. I just don't think you're going to see a shootout in this one. I like avoiding this for DFS too. So give me the under 6.0 goal, 6.0 goal total, and then also, like I said, avoid this one for DFS. I think paying up for the Sabres top line is the better move today.
Jeff, the Fighting Jordan Benningtons, the St. Louis Blues, facing the Caps here. You got a favorite DFS player or a bet for this one?
Yeah, I'm expecting a ton of goals in this one. I mean, again, like I'm not going to go talk about the total again, but I would lean towards the over as a side. But I think that you can be looking towards, the Capitals to potentially be loading up on some of their players today. Certainly, their top line is going to be in play. So, Kuznetsov, this is a 4-game slate. So just paying up for Alex Ovechkin is completely fine. But you've got to build around someone. And like I said, if we're avoiding the Toronto Maple Leafs and Carolina Hurricane studs, then I think Ovechkin is it. I mean, the St. Louis Blues can't stop anything. Their goalie's more interested in fighting than stopping pucks.
Yep.
So playing up for Ovechkin in the spot tonight makes a ton of sense. You can certainly pair him with a guy like TJ Oshie as well, or Kuznetsov at center. So give me some DFS action here, like the Capitals side a lot.
Paul, the Blues have given up 13 goals in 2 games here.
Yeah, you got to wonder what the talk is in their dressing room. How are they going to get focused after the goalie meltdown that we saw the other night? That just can't be good for the Blues at all. And I'm with Jeff on the line stack opportunity. Look, Ovechkin will cost $8,100, but Kuznetsov at $4,900, and Tom Wilson, who nobody's talking about, but he's been a steady performer since he got back into the lineup, only $4,200. So that brings down your average cost. And it also makes sense for me to go to Washington on the puck line for a plus 150 payout. They should be easy winners this evening.
All right, Blue Jackets and Ducks, both of these clubs finding themselves near the basement of the NHL standings. Paul, you going DFS or Sportsbook for this one?
Other than friends and family, I don't know who's going to watch this game, but if you do, consider this. Anaheim's 5-2-3 in their last 10. And Columbus 3-5-2. I'll take the Anaheim youngster Trevor Zegras to be a factor tonight for $5,600. And how about Cam Fowler on defense? He's on a pretty good scoring streak, points-wise, piling up a lot of assists of late. $4,900 his cost. They'll both be featured on the power play, and they should be on the score sheet because of that. And I'm taking them on the puck line as well. Plus 195, a very healthy payout again for those who managed to show an interest in this game.
Jeff, what's your play going to be in this scintillating matchup?
Yeah, it's a little bit tempting to take the underdog Columbus Blue Jackets, but I just don't think that the plus 105 is really is high enough. I will go to the goal scoring department though. Let's throw in a goal prop here to end things. Patrick Laine is just plus 140. He's going up against maybe the worst defensive team in hockey, who allows a ton of shots on goal. Laine has 5 goals over his last 10 games. He's really got nothing to play for, but he's still shooting the puck, putting up goals at a pretty solid rate here to end the season. I see no reason why he can't get on the score sheet, perhaps even multiple times tonight. I like him for DFS too. He's only 6,500. I think that's a fine payoff spot. But plus 140 here against, like I said, the Ducks. Yeah, I think Laine is actually pretty solid value to score a goal tonight.
All right, you two. Your job here is done. Go enjoy St. Patrick's Day if that's what you like to do. We got one more break to go. We got one more block to go. Pierce Dietrich's going to slide in. Got some F1 plays for us. And also, we'll take a trip over to NASCAR. William Byron rocking the noggin boss there, Billy. Using overtime to win back-to-back races. Kind of feels like a breakout year for the 25-year-old kid. We'll talk to Pierce about him coming up.
A strong pump fake, a crossover, a little hesitation. There's a lot of ways to beat your man one-on-one. That's why DraftKings created new head-to-head player props. Set superstar against superstar for assists, points, steals, even threes. DraftKings head-to-head player props, a whole new way to bet on the NBA. Action so good, why bet NBA anywhere else?
People always preaching buy local. It's good for this and that. Okay, I will. Because betting is legal in Mass now. And DraftKings is our local sports book. Founded right here in Boston. Woo! You want outsiders coming here telling you how to bet? Try a wicked awesome parlay.
No.
Well, that's how they sound, David. They make me sick.
DraftKings, your hometown sportsbook, is live in Mass. Bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly.
You know, betting without a game plan is a little like skating a giant ramp without helmet and pads. I wouldn't risk it. And I wouldn't bet without a game plan. DraftKings Sportsbook provides you with tools to set a realistic budget and time limits, so you're ready to bet responsibly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook and Casino apps to learn more about how you can practice safe bets.
This season, DraftKings Sportsbook is your place to bet on the greatest sport on ice. There's so many ways to get closer to the game. And with this latest offer, you can win big. Now that is deserving of some victory stick taps.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, sign up with the promo code, and take advantage of this great offer.
And get in on the action with an official sports betting partner of the NHL.
All right, final block of the show. We have Pierce Dietrich joining us because we have to talk F1. We got to talk NASCAR. Pierce is not a fan of the
noggin boss, the
boss
big
hat,
hats. They're beautiful.
Which is what William Byron was rocking. He's looking for his third straight
ours?
win in Atlanta at the Ambetter 400. He and Larson are the top priced drivers. So who is a guy at the top that you like in DFS this week?
Byron has won 2 in a row, and he did win the inaugural race at the New Atlanta last year. But that's the key here. This is a new Atlanta. It was reconfigured. They added banking to this track. It's now a super speedway like Daytona or Talladega. And if that's the case, you really shouldn't spend up. DraftKings just, I guess, completely forgot that Atlanta is a completely different track, and they did not price drivers correctly. So Byron doesn't really have much of an advantage. None of the higher priced drivers have an advantage. And so a lot of the cheaper drivers are a lot better than what their price would indicate. You can spend up, but the real story is not going to be price. It's going to be chasing place differential, taking guys towards the back that survive all the wrecks.
All right, how low down are you going for value here?
It's the same story. The value is not really going to appear until we see qualifying. Going low is going to be more of how low do you want to go on the starting grid? You want to take guys starting 20th or back or 30th or back? Justin Haley is only $6,100, and he is one of the best super speedway drivers in the series. Again, DraftKings forgot that this is now a plate track, and so if he qualifies in the back half, he's an absolute steal. But if he qualifies up front, then he just doesn't have the opportunity to score a bunch of points, despite being a very good super speedway racer. So really, we've got to wait and see on qualifying. Any cheap driver starting towards the back is going to be at the top of my list.
Well, shout out to DraftKings for forgetting, and shout out to you
Yeah,
for saying something to
thanks.
help our viewers, take advantage of it.
All right, Pierce, what's your best bet for this one? Byron and Larson both plus 900 to win it.
Yeah, well, that tells you everything. Plus 900 is a pretty long shot for the favorite. Typically, we see someone in the 400 range. So the sportsbook knew what was going on. They didn't drop the ball on this one, so give them some credit. But usually when we go to these plate tracks, we really don't want to play the favorites because anything can happen. Anyone can wreck out. These are great places to chase some of the longer shots. And so you can look at the guys that are plus 50,000 and beyond, and you have a pretty good shot of winning. Like Josh Berry is in that car that won last year. Haley is back there, as I've mentioned. Noah Gragson is back there. AJ Allmendinger, a great plate track racer. Michael McDowell, who won the Daytona 500 at plus 10,000. Ty Gibbs has won plate track races before. All those guys, I don't mind taking as long shots because there's going to be wrecks. If they just survive to the end, maybe they make a move at the end and win the race.
Dude, so is Max Verstappen, as we go over to F1, he's going to win almost every race this year. Right now he's like minus 225 to do it again in Saudi Arabia this week. It's getting difficult really to bet somebody else as a winner here in F1. Can you give us a driver you are eyeing for a podium finish, though, on the DK Sportsbook?
Well, it's not difficult to bet him. It's just difficult to get rich betting him. He set the
That's
win
what I
record
mean.
all time last season. So it's like, yeah, I get it. Like, we want to get a little bit more of a payout, but it's just not going to happen. And already in practice one, he's at the top of the board, and he won at this racetrack last season. So, yeah, Verstappen's going to win. But there is the possibility that Sergio Perez could dethrone him this week. Sergio was really good at this track last year. He's really good at the street circuits throughout his career, and that really showed up last year with multiple street track wins. Probably could have contended in this race last year, got a safety car at the absolute worst time. So better than just getting a podium, Sergio Perez, his teammate, who has been just as fast, could really possibly take him out. Maybe you could consider Carlos Sainz with Ferrari's power, but I think Sergio is going to be the pick to win if you don't want to play the super fave.
All right, back over to DFS for the Saudi Arabian GP. Who's a constructor that you like for the Grand Prix here? Do you need to pay up for Red Bull or maybe save some salary, go with like another good race for Aston Martin? What do you think?
Probably too early on Aston Martin. It's always safe to pay up on Red Bull. That's the way to go. You may want to consider Ferrari. They do have a better power unit, which would help at this street circuit, and they were at the top of the field last season. They just couldn't seal the deal at the end. But the problem with Ferrari this week is that Charles Leclerc's got a starting grid penalty, so it's going to be hard for him to get points, hard for them to lead laps, hard for them both to get podiums. So just play it safe and take Red Bull.
Do you miss Jeff talking NASCAR and F1 with you?
It's kind of weird just being by myself. I feel like I'm teaching or something.
Okay, well,
we are
you're
your students.
a teacher.
Thank you.
Yeah, we are your students. Our large audience is your student audience as well. Thanks, Pierce. See you later, man. Have a good St. Patrick's Day. Oh, are we back on Monday? We are.
We are back on Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. In the meantime, enjoy March Madness. Enjoy your weekend.
We also have a special Massachusetts launch show airing for our Massachusetts audience on the local Fox affiliates of Boston 25, Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and high noon on Sunday. Join us. It's going to be very, very fun. Lots of special guests.
All right. See you Monday.